everyone, it's Kristen. So today we're going to be talking about this. And while I was reading this, like I had an epiphany. Like I think I know where this is going. I could be like really wrong. Um, but I mean I have a theory about what's going to happen. So when we get to the part that triggered my like, oh, maybe that's what it is. I'll tell you about it. Okay, so I thought this was a really good issue. It was really interesting, but I have to say, as an animal lover, like I hated it. I mean, it was just, yeah. So Trask's son is with this apparently political bigwig, and he's explaining, how the new Sentinels, the wolf pack works, and they have this guy, probably like a low paid person in here. He's wearing a bite suit, you know how the cops wear when they're training police dogs. So, he's just going to give this bigwig a demonstration. He releases, the hounds to go in there. The guy wearing the bite suit is like all of a sudden like, wait a second. And Trask is like to his associate, shut it down. And he's like, I did. They turned themselves back on. Whoa. So when I saw this panel, I mean, of course, even though it's just, a comic book, I honestly, I was a little squeamish. I was like, oh, that's gross. That sucks. So basically, these, that wolf pack killed this poor guy, poor underpaid, whatever he did for the company, you know. Yeah. So, yeah. And, Trask tries to cover his tracks, like, oh, I'm so sorry, we're in beta testing, I don't know what happened. And the political, bigwig is like, how soon can you ship 4 dozen of them? Because he's worried about mutants in his country. And he also says, can they be trained to hunt non-mutant targets? So here we are back in Haven, after the raid on Graham Malkin. And Nightcrawler and Gambit are arguing over which beer is better. Nightcrawler, of course, prefers German beer, which he bamped, teleported to go get. And Gambit prefers the Louisiana, local brew that Marcus, had saved for him. And I mean, honestly, I miss David's work already. I mean, Rogue, I like the outfit on her. I still think she looks good, but there's just something about David drawing her that I really loved. So Rogue is like, look, we need to do something. We need to make this, you know, this place more of a school. And she said each of us adults, needs to take one kid to mentor. And, they're kind of talking about how they don't trust them. And Wolverine's like, they all have a secret, I can smell it. And the problem is they don't even trust themselves. And so she's told Jubilee that she's going to take Death Dream because if anyone could use some sparkle in their life, it's him. Which I thought that was cute that she said that. So we see, all the kids and Rogue and Wolverine are still talking. So, and Rogue again emphasizes the fact that we need to make this a school, like not just, you know, a place where we are based. We need to make this a real school for them. And so Jubilee goes to talk to Death Dream, and we get kind of a glimpse into Death Dream's, you know, past. And he talks about how he sees his parents sometimes, but they don't know him and they're not pleasant to look at. And he thinks this, that Jubilee made with her powers is so cool. And he's like, it's so warm. Can I keep it? And Jitter finds Calico in the barn and she's dancing. And Calico says, this is the only thing I ever loved besides, and I think she means Ember. And so, Calico says, my mom never allowed anyone to touch me. And so Jitter, you know, basically sets her timer and says, best ballet dancer in the world, male, right? And so they dance together, which I think is such a sweet moment. I mean, Jitter's power only lasts for like a minute. So, and you see Ransom, he's pretty much wanting to leave. And Wolverine was like, where are you going? And Ransom says, I overheard you guys. I know that none of you want us here. I'm not gonna stay where I'm not wanted. And Wolverine's like, you have to understand. Um, Wolverine's like, let's talk, over a sandwich. You have to understand that we lost everything. We lost our leaders, we lost our country, we lost our way, we lost our home. Our home's now a prison. Okay, this is where I had an aha moment. So I'm going to read this because it is very specific in the way I was thinking. So Wolverine's like, on top of that, a major league precog, Harvey X, told us one of the kids at this house, and he emphasizes this house, like this is in all caps, was going to be the end of all mutant kind. So we maybe seem a little bit more skittish than normal. Okay, this is my theory. It's probably a wild theory. Like you're probably thinking, yeah, no, that's not where this is going. So, my theory is this. It says one of the kids at this house. My theory is that Chelsea, Marcus's little girl, is going to be the end to all mutants. Because he didn't, I mean, because he specified kids in this house. And we're not positive that Chelsea is immune, but Marcus kind of made the joke to Rogue in Uncanny X Men 3. Now, don't be putting a letter, on my little girl, Rogue, meaning, like an X symbol for X Men. So, that is my theory. I could be insanely wrong with that theory, but that's what I think. That's where I think this is leading. Because, you have just the four kids, and you're thinking, okay, it's got to be one of them. And I was leaning towards Becca because, like the warden wanted her, Sarah wanted her, and I feel like it was a misdirect by Gail so that we wouldn't even think about Chelsea, Marcus's little girl. So that is my theory. I don't know if that's true at all. I mean, she could even be an avian because she's for one, she's a new character, you know, and they haven't said who the other three avians are. Philip Scurvy said he was one, and then Harvey X, and then there's three unaccounted for. Well, actually, two unaccounted for because um, inmate X is an avian. So, okay, Chelsea being an avian could be a stretch. I mean, okay, I will admit that's a stretch. But like I said, I think my theory is correct. Like, I think Chelsea is the mutant to end all mutants. Like, wouldn't that throw everyone for a loop? Like, that would be the thing you're not expecting at all. And it also makes me think of like murder mystery movies or books where they introduce a character in and you're like, okay, I'm not sure why they introduced that character. It's like kind of a background character. You barely see that character or interact with that character, but the writers have to introduce that character because that character, is the one who, either gets murdered or is the murderer. Anyway, so I'm saying, yeah, that is my theory that Chelsea, Marx's little girl, is the mutant to end all mutants, or is the mutant to end all mutant kind. Just putting it out there. Like I said, I could be way off base, but just kind of a light bulb click moment when I read this and where it says this is in all caps, this house, and it says one of the kids. So that is my theory. Anyway, so Ransom continues and says, I looked up to you guys, but I know you guys don't want us here. So, I mean, I don't need that from people. And Wolverine says, look, every time we got in a scrape, you were the first to, jump in. You protected the other kids. They look up to you. They need you. Please, I picked you. Like, you were my pick for this. So, he says, give us one more chance. So Ransom's like, but we're kind of trapped in the house. We don't even get to leave the house. So Wolverine says Jubilee has, she has that taken care of. So they're going to the mall and they each get $400 and Jubilee says to, buy new clothes, get pretzels, go to the movies, whatever, just be teenagers. And I'm thinking, $400, that's kind of a lot of money. Like nobody has a job here. So where did they get, like $1,600? Just, I mean, I guess they must have some money like stashed away or something because of course, like Rogue, Gambit, Jubilee, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, none of them are rich, not like Professor Xavier or Emma or Warren. So I'm just like, where'd they get that money from? So they must have some stash somewhere. Anyway, so we see back to the Wolfpack Sentinels. So, these guys are talking, and this guy says, "Hey, we've located the mutants. They're in, New Orleans, Louisiana." And this guy says, "Send the Wolfpack." And he's like, "Well, but I don't think they're ready." He's like, "Well, don't you think it's time for a field test?" So anyway, they're talking and they're like, "Ooh, cinnamon pretzels first." And Death Dream's like, "What's this? What's a pretzel? What's a cinnamon?" And there he is. You can see he loves it. Like he thinks it's the best thing ever. He's like, "I'm gonna need 8 more of these." And all of a sudden, they're hunted by the wolf pack. And Ransom, I mean, Wolverine was right. He's the first to jump in, protect the kids, and he's like, "Run." Oh, and another thing I wanted to point out is Calico is like, is $400 a lot? Yes, $400 is a lot. And then Jitter says, I usually shop at thrift stores, which, like, I've never really shopped at a thrift store. I've been to, like, places like Ross and TJ Maxx and stuff. But I think it would be kind of cool to actually go to a thrift store and kind of see what they have and maybe find treasure, And then Ransom, who comes from a rich family, remember, he says, my shoes cost $400. Okay, so I know that women have the Louis Vuittons that have like the red soles that are really expensive. Like I don't even know how expensive, but I bet like $1,000 at least. I think. I mean, obviously I'm not a shoe person. I think I own like a pair of flip-flops, a pair of like nice dress sandals, a pair of boots for the winter, and then tennis shoes. And that's it. So like 4 pairs of shoes. I've never really got into shoes because like yeah. I just never did. I can't walk in heels. It's sad but true. So it yeah. So I never got into shoes. But anyway, so I'm wondering what guy shoes cost $400. I mean, like I never knew there were guy shoes that cost that much. I mean, yeah, the red soled Louis Vuittons, whatever. I knew that they cost a whole lot, but yeah, what guy shoes cost $400? Are those like the Jordans or something? Obviously, like I said, I don't know. I don't know much about shoes at all. So, but that just kind of stood out to me because yeah, I don't know anything about shoes, so I was curious. So, Death Dream is just eating his pretzel, kind of oblivious, and then he tries to use his power on the wolf pack, but it doesn't work because they're not organic objects. And what bothers me the most is in the beginning, they talked about how they've used stray dogs to make these hounds. Like I said, as an animal lover, I hate that. And I hate this issue because of that. It just makes me like, oh, yuck. Like, well, you've seen I mean, I love animals. You've seen my videos, maybe, of the stray cats that keep coming around my house that I'm trying to befriend, trying to make friends with. So I just, that's kind of sickens me a little bit that they're using these stray dogs and performing experiments and turning them into these weapons. So, um, Calico is telling, Death Dream to run, to go hide. And Ransom's like, I don't know what else to do. I hit them as hard as I hit Wolverine and barely phased them. And then Calico, yeah, she picks up Death Dream, takes him, to the other side of the mall and says, "Go hide somewhere because your powers don't work on these things." So that tells me since they, don't work on them, even though they're like, dogs based on like using stray dogs, they're more machine than actual animal. Um, at this point, more machine than alive. And anyway, Death Dream's like, thank you so much. You're the first person to care if I die since I was 6 years old. So, the warden is upset. She's like, who authorized this? And Trask's son is like, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. She's like, this is not what we planned. We had a whole campaign, we had a whole media campaign to, for the rollout of these, we definitely weren't going to send them against kids first because that doesn't make anybody look good, sending these killer robots after kids. So, yeah. So they're still fighting them, trying to figure out what happened. And Ransom's like, "Where's Death Dream?" And Calico's like, "Well, I told him to go hide." And he's like, "You left him all alone?" Okay, I mean, I would be way more upset by this panel if I knew he wasn't actually dead. They've already said that there's going to be a issue in the near future that focuses solely basically on him. So I know that he's not actually dead. And one of his things is he dies and comes back to life. So I know he's not actually dead, but it's still a little bit, a little bit disturbing to see. So, like I said, it was a really good issue, really interesting issue. Like better than I will say the whole crossover. I'm just gonna be honest. I did really enjoy it. I really do. I want to find out what happens next. Um, but of course, like I said, as an animal lover, I hated it. Like I hate when animals are the bad guys in movies. Hate it. Just and if an animal dies in a movie, I can't watch it. Like I will immediately if it comes and I don't know it's coming, of course I immediately start crying. I can't handle it. Like John Wick, nobody, like I love action movies, love them, but nobody told me that the dog was gonna die. I was sitting there watching that movie bawling, just thinking, "Oh my gosh." And then thinking, no wonder he goes on this murderous rampage. They killed his dog, this puppy, the last gift from his wife. I mean, I don't blame him. Oh, goodness. Anyway, so hated it but loved it at the same time. This issue. And like I said, my theory of Becca or not Becca, Chelsea, Marcus's little girl being the mutant to end all mutant kind could be way off. But like I said, I just thought, oh, because he emphasized in this issue the word this and it was on all caps of the kids in this house, that's why I think I'm right. I could be totally wrong. And the whole clue about, don't you go making, putting an X on my little girl Rogue sort of thing, making her an X-Men. Like they haven't specifically talked about Chelsea having mutant powers or anything, but like I said, that kind of to me alludes to it. I mean, granted, he's probably just joking, and Chelsea having, been around Gambit before, I'm sure she's been around other mutants before, and she wasn't even surprised when these four mutant kids showed up. So, like I said, that is my theory, and I think I'm right, but only time will tell. So, I'm just putting it out there. Like I said, I think it is a stretch to have her be one of the avians, but there's two unaccounted for. So it's very possible she could be. But Scurvy also did say they're all dying. So I don't think I don't think that is true. I don't think she is an avian, but it's still possible. Anyway, so that's my theory. Um now since I said I was going to, I'm gonna go and do upload this one and then do Dazzler 4 so we can catch up on the rest of the Doom saga. So anyway, I will see you shortly for that video. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm right, think I'm wrong. Like I said, I could totally be wrong. That could just be a super wild theory, but I just have this just in my gut think I'm right about this. And hence the, you know, making it even more shocking, more, more conflict, being conflicted. Like they have to, this little girl that they've grown to know and love, they might have to, take some drastic measures. So anyway, I remember Gail also saying something about there's going to be some heartbreak along the way. That's why another reason why I think I'm right. So anyway, we'll see. And I will see you in a couple minutes for Dazzler 4. So until that, bye.